Hello boys and girls, thank you for joining me for another Grammar Keepers lesson. Today we're going to look at the words me and I, and we're going to talk about how do I know the difference between when is the proper time to use the word me and the proper time to use the word I. This is really confusing for a lot of people. Even adults get this wrong. But I'm going to show you today a proof that you can use and a little trick you can use to make sure that you get this correct every single time. And once you learn this, it's just not that hard and you can do it every single time. So what our proof is for knowing whether to use me or I is just to break them up. I'm going to give you an example. And well, let me back up. Another way that we can say this is just to take out the other person. Whatever is occurring in the sentence, pretend like it's just happening just to you, and just take out the other person. So let's read our example sentence. My father and I talked about my sister and me. So at the very beginning, we have the father and I talking. So let's take out the father and just make it that I talked. I talked about my sister. See, it makes sense, doesn't it? If we were to change that I to me and to say my father and me, and then we took out the other person, my father and, it wouldn't make sense. Me talked about my sister? No, it wouldn't make sense. So let's read the rest of the sentence. I talked about my sister and me. Okay, so my father and I talked about my sister and me. So let's take out the other person, my sister and. We eliminate this person, and we say, my father and I talked about me. That makes sense, doesn't it? We wouldn't say my father and I talked about I, would we? That wouldn't make any sense at all. So let's look at our conversation. Read the sentence, please. My father and I talked about my sister and me. Are you sure it's not my father and me? Yes, you wouldn't say me talked, you'd say I talked. Perfectly done. Now let's look at the end of that sentence. Okay, it should be my sister and I. That may sound more educated, but it's actually wrong. Prove that, please. My father talked about my sister. My father talked about I. See? That's wrong. My father talked about me. Me is the correct word here. You're absolutely right. Me is right. Ha ha. Okay, so let's finish this up with a journal entry like we always do. And I'll read just a little part of this, and then you can read the rest on your own. It was a hot summer day when I got my dog. I remember distinctively it was August 4th, 2013, when we went to the Stinky Pound. My brother Ariel and I were running back and forth in the halls. So let's look at this part here, my brother Ariel and I. We're going to take out my brother Ariel, and we're going to say, I was running back and forth in the hall. We had to see how we had to change were. We're saying, what were they doing here? What were these two people doing? They were running back and forth in the hall. So if it was just you running, you would say, I was running back and forth in the hall. You wouldn't say me was running, would you? So that makes sense. Okay, boys and girls, so go ahead and finish up the rest of this journal entry on your own. Make sure that you look at every single time that the words me or I are used, and take out the other person. See if it makes sense. If it does, then you know you used the correct one. And I will see you next time. Thank you.